Hello, everyone. Just wanted to give a quick recap of the play-in round and predictions for the first round of the playoffs. Uh, Starting with the Eastern side, Montreal made it through playing against Pittsburgh. I had predicted Pittsburgh, but I had kind of thought that Montreal could upset them just because of Carey Price. His ability to just stand on his head and carry a team is really what makes the difference. And then on top of that, they got some really good play out of Nick Suzuki up front, which helped them a lot. For this round against Philadelphia, I think they're going to need, of course, they're going to need more strong goaltending from Price, but I think they'll need some of their other top guys to also step up, like Tatar and Domi and Drouin. They need to start pitching in a bit more if they want to be able to deal with Philadelphia, who looked very strong in the seeding round. Uh, Columbus Tampa. So Columbus made it in playing against Toronto. I had predicted Toronto. That was the only series I had as a sweep. But with that said, I thought it could have been a sweep either way. I thought the two teams' play styles was so different that one team just like wasn't going to be incompatible to play against the other, and it did seem to be that way. But they still made it close. They still Toronto. They have those guys who were able to find holes and keep the series close. Um, but overall, Columbus's just hardworking style was too much for them. Against Tampa Bay, that's a rematch of last year where they upset them. I don't see it happening this year, though. I think Tampa's too strong, and this Columbus team isn't as strong as they were last year, and Tampa's not going to roll over as easy as they did last year either. So I predict Tampa to win that one. Also, I don't know if I clarified, but I predict Philadelphia to win against Montreal. Um, for Washington and New York Islanders, I had them losing to the Panthers, but I suspected that one would be close. Um, Trotz's style just worked really well to snuff out all of Florida's offense. And on top of that, Florida didn't get the best goaltending from Bobrovsky. Um, Now the Islanders are up against Washington, Trotz's old team. Uh, for them to be able to stand up to them, they're going to have to find the right balance of containing Ovechkin, but also containing the rest of the team. If they become too focused on stopping Ovechkin, they'll open up a lot of space for the other guys. But if they stick to their system too much, Ovechkin might be able to find holes. And you don't want to let him get started. Um, and then Boston, Carolina, I think that's a very interesting matchup. It's the rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals from last year. Carolina, they walked right over the Rangers. I kind of expected them to dominate that series, but I thought the Rangers would put up a bit of a better fight. I feel bad for Lundqvist. He played really good in his games, but it just didn't work out. He couldn't get the goal support, and I think a lot of that's just because the Rangers didn't have the depth to deal with Carolina. And Carolina just looked so strong all the way through their lineup. They barely allowed any chances, even against players like Panarin and Zibanejad. But now they have to play against another team that can come up to their depth and have a strong defense as a team like Carolina does. But Carolina has the speed advantage, I think. I think they have better offense. Um, and I think though it's going to be a very close series, I think it will go to Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 7 and Justin Williams ends up winning it for Carolina. Then over on the west side, Chicago and Vegas. Chicago surprised a lot of people by beating Edmonton. I didn't think they would be an easy out, and they proved it. Game one uh, of that series, Edmonton looked so slow. They looked completely unprepared for it, and Chicago walked all over them. Chicago has a lot to deal with. If Kane and Tays are playing on separate lines and both playing good on their own, that's a lot for other teams to contend with because Tays' line can shut down the opponent's top line while still creating offense. And then how are you supposed to stop Kane if you're focusing on Tays' line? It's a lot for most teams, and Edmonton showed they couldn't stand up to that. I thought Edmonton should have gone back to Smith. I didn't think in game one it was really his fault because the team looked really bad in front of him. But I get in a 5-game series, you kind of have to, once you make that decision, you got to stick with it. So they switched to Koskinen. They got a win with Koskinen, so they just stuck with him the rest of the way. And so for this series, though, I think Vegas will be more prepared than Edmonton was. I still think Chicago will put up a fight, but I think Vegas will win that series. Colorado, Arizona. Arizona surprised a lot of people too, but I kind of suspected they could. They've got a really good goaltender, they got strong defense, and they play good defense as a team. And they've got a few stars that can find the holes, make plays, just open up teams like Kessel and Hall and Keller. But against Colorado, I don't know. I think they were lucky to play against Nashville, who I think are at the end of their time where they could win a cup. I think they're going to have to start looking to moving some players out, changing things up if they want to continue to contend, or they might have to rebuild entirely. As for this series, though, I think Colorado looks like such a strong team. They're kind of who I think has the best chance of making the finals. They have a lot of depth up front. Their defense, the young guys look really good. They don't look like they're intimidated by the playoffs at all, though that could change now. The seeding round definitely has less intensity, or had less intensity. And Grubauer looked good in goal. So I think Colorado will beat Arizona. I think they don't really have that Cinderella run this year. Dallas and Calgary. Calgary came out really physical against Winnipeg, took out their top players, or their top offensive threats anyways, and they looked very dominant throughout. The forwards that didn't show up in the last couple of playoffs, they showed up this year, and Talbot looked really good in goal. And I think of all the teams they could have matched up against, I think Dallas is probably the most favorable for them. I don't think the physical style will be as effective against Dallas as it was against Winnipeg, but I think they can still overwhelm them. I don't know if Dallas has the ability to contend with that type of overwhelming physical presence and just hounding on the puck like Calgary was doing, as well as if they continue to get the offensive support from guys like Goudreau. So yeah, I think Calgary will win that series. And then lastly, the St. Louis Blues versus Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver, I thought, was very lucky to get past Minnesota. The first game, Minnesota looked completely dominant over Vancouver. Vancouver got very little opportunities. They didn't, and Stalock looked really good when they did get the odd chance, and the offense was there for Minnesota. And then game 2, even like still Vancouver had maybe one goal where it looked like they played really well, but the other two, it was kind of like not the best chances, and they just kind of snuck a shot by Stalock that maybe he should have had, especially the Pearson goal. I thought he should have had. Um, and then game 3, they almost coughed up the lead at the end, and the last game, game 4, they had to fight back from being down 2 goals and then down 1 goal. And they managed to do it, so they earned the win, but they didn't look like the better team in that series. I would definitely say that. And I think going against St. Louis, the reigning Cup champs, I don't see them coming out on top of that one, and I think St. Louis goes through. So that's my predictions for the next round. I see Philadelphia, Tampa, Washington, Carolina, Vegas, Colorado, Calgary, and St. Louis going through. Uh, that's all. Um, I'm very happy to see that the Rangers got the first overall pick. They were who I was hoping for. I was hoping for either them or Minnesota. I felt they needed it the most, and it went to New York, so that's great. Their first overall pick since 1965, I seen. Um, so good for them. I think that'll help them a lot. And that's all I had for today. Thanks for watching.